Hi, my name is Chris West, and we're going to talk about gait development in this presentation. We're going to start out with constraints. Constraints are going to be um, the items that are going to affect our actual movement, our gait, development of gait, and so on. So you have things such as individual constraints, which is your physical or mental characteristics, things that are going to affect you, your ability to actually begin to develop gait. Structural constraints are going to be the individual's body structure, so muscle development, bone structure, and these items. Functional constraints are the individual constraints related to behavioral structure, so these could be mental disabilities, could be um, various other items that are going to cause the individual to not develop um, appropriately. Um, Environmental constraints are the world around us. These are things within the environment that are going to cause us to have issues with our development. That could be we're out and trying to walk, but it's extremely hot. The weather is not appropriate, or it's going to cause us to compensate in some way with our gait. Task constraints can be um, the task that we are faced with and our ability to um, up, to perform a specific movement for that activity. So the task constraints could cause a problem. Some theories and perspectives that we can look at as far as development is concerned is Newell's model. This is to talk about the organism, the environment, and the task to be undertaken, them all working together, and the ability of the individual to complete those based off of what um, the individual, the environment, and the task put together. Maturational perspective is the developmental change of the individual. So things like the central nervous system development, which is going to control and dictate motor development. Um, this is something that's thought of as more of a biological or genetic process. It's not necessarily um, something that is believed to be controlled outside of that. So rather than, things can be sped up one way or the other, but it's not going to change the genetic or biological development of the individual. Information processing perspective is talking about if we see a task at hand, our brain acts as a computer. It's going to take the information in about that task. It's going to then process, and it's going to output a specific movement for that task. So that would be information processing perspective. The ecological perspective is one that stresses the relationship of the individual, environment, and the task, and all of those are interrelated in the process of completing the task that is given. I wanted to look at prenatal development because this is going to be our first effects on gait development. Because of the fact that we are developing in the womb, obviously there are various things that could happen, and as we are brought into this world and start developing postnatally, um, various things could affect that. So differentiation is where our cells become more specific, as in tissues and organs, and developing that way. The hyperplasia is the increase of the absolute number of cells that we have. The hypertrophy is the size, the development of the individual cells. Cephalocaudal is that pronunciation probably wasn't right, but the direction of growth from the head to the body. So just talking about the head to the body, direction of growth. And then we have the proximal distal is the direction of growth from the body to our extremities. Some of the abnormal prenatal growth is going to be things that are genetic or extrinsic. So we can be born with genetic defects or things like Down syndrome. We could have limb deformities. We could have heart or brain problems. This would cause a problem with, um, you know, our development in general, our ability to process um, the different movements, or to send those messages to the extremities to do things that we need them to do. So prenatally, the development is very important. So, you know, various different things that happen throughout that time, and how the mothers treat their body and what they put into their body can affect various abnormal growth at that stage. Early childhood, we're going to talk about the infants. Okay, and infants, when we think about gait, we don't really think that they're actually starting to build the capacity to walk. So, um, we look at things like spontaneous movement. To us, we think that they're just kicking and this and that, or reaching, but that's actually their beginning development stages of the walking or control of those limbs. So things like laying on their back in the supine position, kicking, is, if we look at it, it looks like walking. Sometimes you'll notice that they alternate legs and it almost has the motion of walking. While they may not understand that that's what they're doing, that is the beginning stages. Arm movements like reaching, as they start to develop and see things that they want, they start reaching. We have infantile reflexes. These are things that are in response to the stimuli that they're given. So dangling a toy in front of them and they start to have reflexes wanting to get to that, or tickling the palm with the finger, and that is a stimulus that causes them to grasp then the finger. We have things like, one of the other developmental stages or milestones is the reflex of um, tickling the bottom of the foot, and they start to kind of grasp with the toes and the foot there. So that gives them, the ability of building up the control of the foot as well. So infants will begin to show various reflexes and reactions to stimuli and the early gait development, and these are going to be put into the developmental stages to the next stage, right? Reflexes that they're having, the spontaneous movement they're having, these are going to change to voluntary movement instead. They're going to start doing things because they want something. So they learn that if they want it, they have to move in a certain direction. So voluntarily making these movements instead of just it being sort of a reflex. Various milestones are going to be hit as they work towards locomotion and standing and walking. So we're looking at things like being able to roll to their side and maintain, or roll from their back to their belly, from the supine to prone position or prone to supine position. This is showing control, strength, and that being able to push themselves up to sitting and sitting unsupported. This is showing control and muscle strength as well. From there, being able to stand, and they're going to be able to stand supported. They may work to develop their grasping power to grasp and pull themselves up into the standing position as well. Once they get to that point, the walking position is going to be arms in a high guard. Their stride is going to be very short, and their base is going to be wide with the toes pointed out. This is all to help them to learn and maintain balance. In early childhood too, we have various different things that we're looking at is the maturation of the central nervous system. Their strength and endurance is developing, and the posture and balance is huge. This is going to allow them to be able to stand and start to develop that gait. Improve sensory processing, so seeing and feeling and processing that in a way that they are able to move towards it. So we see here one of the milestones being able to lay in the prone position, keeping the head up, and having the control to move back and forth. Another is being able to sit up unsupported by anybody else. There is some support here in the arms, but that's about it. And then this little guy who born with Down syndrome, and being able to hold the head up is not a constraint on him right now. The Down syndrome is not a constraint for him. So in childhood, by approximately age 4, they're working up to the point where they have the characteristics of advanced walk. While it may not be perfect as it's shown, it is there. So this is going to consist of their stride length getting longer. It is going to consist of them going from planting flat-footed to a heel to toe motion. It's going to be turning from the out toe to more straightforward and being on the forward and backward sagittal plane in their motion. Then we're going to start to see a little more of the pelvic rotation and oppositional movement, and that's important in maintaining balance, but also extending that range of motion as well. So these are all developing so that they get to the advanced walker stage. So we can see this little guy. He's in high guard position, short steps, lifting and dropping is what it looks like instead of more of a stride. His stride is more of pick up and set down of the foot, and we can see that here going through from sitting to rolling into a supported on all fours and moving into a squat position here, and then full standing where his arms are in the sort of a high guard, and still that picking up and setting down. And you can see he's meeting the ground more with the toes, which probably will be closer to a flat foot planting. Into a little bit older here where they, as I said, they develop that more advanced walker position. So heel to toe, you can see here initial contact with the heel. We see a little oppositional movement with the arm and leg opposite moving. So advanced walker, looking straight up, and stride length is longer. In adulthood, we are considered experienced walkers, more advanced walkers, and our gait is developed at this point to where we are walking the way that we have developed at this point. So it will continue to develop in running, jumping, skipping, etc. These are things that we are going to do throughout the adult stages as we start to participate more in sports or different exercise and things like that. The adult gait is affected by various things. Whenever you think about, as an adult, we have different responsibilities that we end up taking on, and at that point, things like getting a job where we're sitting at work can affect our gait because we are sitting more constantly than we are walking and using it. So weight gain can affect it, stresses in life can affect it, injuries that we've had, just lack of use and being active is just going to affect our gait. This is going to cause us to compensate for our movements. And then how we treat our bodies in the adult stages is going to affect our older adulthood and how our gait is affected then. So we can see a normal gait here. We can see some abnormalities that are formed throughout adulthood, with the exception of the waddling gait, which we can see in some adulthood due to extreme weight gain. So waddling is there as well. Older adulthood, we can see that we can maintain gait in the older adulthood through exercise and strength training. If we can maintain the strength and we can maintain the control, then they can maintain a good solid gait. Changes in the gait could be, though, as they age, we have stride length that shortens, base of support is going to get a little wider because of balance issues. Oppositional movement may not be as prominent due to the fact that they are trying to maintain that balance, or they're holding a cane or something like that. Arms may be in a low guard position just because, again, it's helping with balance. The fear of falling may be an issue with that as well. Muscle strength can result in poor posture and changing center of gravity. This is then balance compensation. They have to try and find a way to keep themselves balanced. Another issue would be osteoporosis or osteoarthritis, which can affect bone structure and support, and it can also cause pain and movement, causing an older adult to not want to get up and actually move throughout their day. So we can see older gentlemen support here with the cane and somebody helping. We can see the deterioration in vertebral support through osteoporosis, but we can also see this old man here, and we wouldn't think it by looking at him, but he's in his hundreds and still able to run marathons. So being able to maintain a good gait and full functioning gait is possible through proper training. So that is my presentation on gait. Thank you very much.